Hello, I'm Paul Harvey-Brooks. I've been passionate about plants, gardens and landscapes since I can remember as a small child. That is a very magical space. We're at a very personal garden. This is the Royal Botanic Garden Edinburgh, and it's just amazing to be back and hear the garden kind of living and breathing around me. This is the Royal Botanic Garden Edinburgh, and this is where I was a student nearly 20 years ago, and just to kind of be back here and all of the kind of starting blocks of my career coming back to me, the memories of different people who had such an impact in the way that I think and the way that I design. Very excited to see what's changed, and I'm also very excited to meet David Knott, who's in charge of the living collections here.
Paul, how are you doing?
Hi.
Good to see you again.
Well, I've got to say, I was walking around and I had a bit of a moment to myself. There were two things that happened. I was like a kid in a china shop, like when I first came here before, thinking, oh, what's that? Oh, what's that? Oh, I want that plant. And then I also thought, oh, wow, like so much life has happened since I was here. But at the same time, I've been brought straight back to being a teenager who was kind of wide-eyed and eager to learn, and I couldn't really still think of anywhere better to learn than here.
It is a fantastic place because I obviously experienced a similar experience, but a good number of decades earlier than yourself. But yeah, it's a very humbling experience as well.
That's
working
exactly
here.
Yeah. So you're curator of living collections.
Yes, that's my current job title. Never in a million years did I think I would ever come back here.
Really?
After learning to walk in the garden, obviously many years ago, and then to do what I'm doing just now.
And what does that entail as a kind of day-to-day activity? Because the collection is vast, isn't it?
Yeah, currently we're about 13,500 species of plants and about 150,000 plants. The plants are the easy bit. There's all the other bits that go with management, you know, like machinery, financial resource, people resource. But the plants are very much my passion and what I became a horticulturalist to do.
And I think actually walking through that came back very strongly to me. There's a whole lot of other things that you could be doing, but it's the plants which are so special that kind of ignite everything.
Yes, and I think we're also very fortunate in that many of our staff have a similar passion and enthusiasm, and without their skill set we would not have the living collection and the garden landscapes visitors enjoy, and particularly on a nice day like today that you're able to reminisce about here and now. Very
strongly reminiscing. But one of the other things which always stuck in my mind from being a student is Edinburgh to me feels unique because it has plants here from around the world that we can see and that sometimes people are seeing for the first time anywhere, but it also does a lot of work in the countries where the plants actually are native.
Yes, so we have plants from about 162 countries in the collection today. We're currently actively working in about 40 countries and we've got close links with another 40, so about 80 countries we're working on. And some of our newer plantings in the garden reflect that. So the Chinese hillside, that's probably 25 years old this year, but more countries that we're actively working on just now, and we've got plant collections that reflect that work are our Nepalese plant collection and our Japanese plant collection. And these are countries we're very much working in, and we have changed. You know, a lot of our work is working in country, working in collaboration, capacity building, and then the plants that visitors can see are really just the tip of the iceberg. Yes.
Well, the Chinese hillside was relatively new when I was here, which alarms me. But I would very much like to go and have a look at some of those new collections.
Yes, let's go and have a look at them just now, Paul. So this area of the garden is where we've been recently planting a lot of Japanese plants that we've collected on trips to Japan over the last 25 years. And it linked very strongly with our collaboration with colleagues in Japan. And this particularly ginkgo has a very poignant and very special significance. This was grown from seed from a ginkgo that survived the blast at Hiroshima, and we planted it on the 75th anniversary of that day as part of to commemorate our 350th anniversary, and the Japanese Council and the Chairman of our Trustees planted it. And I think probably the other underlying point that this tree makes is, 20, 30 years ago you would not have seen ginkgo or even consider planting ginkgo in Edinburgh, whereas now you can see just how well it's growing, and it's actually growing too vigorously. You see, we've had to put a stake in it because we now get the other factor of climate change and its impacts is these continual winds over the winter, and we just need to make sure it's quite stable to grow well.
I mean, it is quite interesting to me because you've got that very poignant history, but it also feels like a warning from history, because as you say, like 20 years ago when I was here, I wouldn't have dreamt of seeing that, and now you're saying it's growing here and it's growing too vigorously. It's just, there's like a little alarm bell that goes off in my head saying we're heading for tricky waters.
Yeah, I think there are very definite changes that we're seeing. It's maybe equating plant timelines against human timelines, but certainly over the last 20, 30 years there have been significant changes and impacts on weather events and severe weather events. So I think that's something, you're quite right, it's something we need to be very, very aware of and take heed.
Well, I really should stop taking up your time, I think. I just want to say thank you so much for spending time with me, walking around. It's been a real treat looking at the new things that are happening, looking at some of the things I remember. Like I said to you, the Davidia, that's the first time I ever saw that tree, was here. So I'm going to let you go because I know your work's very important, and I'm probably just going to spend a little bit more time reminiscing about my time here and looking at the new things. So thank you so much.
Well, it's great to see you, Paul, and have a great visit.
Thank you. One of the unique things about botanic gardens is every single plant is labelled, which is really useful if you want to know what the plant is. That isn't always the case in a private garden because you're largely reliant on the owner labelling things or remembering what the plant's called. Now, if I take this one off, you'll see that botanic garden labels have a lot of other information. You'll always have the genus, the species, sometimes other information like subspecies, but there are always these 4 other bits of information. This tells you the family. So Malus is in Rosaceae, same as roses, same as strawberries. It's all one family. This tells you the country that this is native to, Japan, and this will tell you who collected it, and this is the seed or the living collection number from when that was dated, and those records are always kept in herbariums. So this is collecting plants for the future, but also being able to map historically where that plant was in its country of origin at a point, and also looking into the future so we can go back to those records. Now, this unassuming plant has a very different label in the fact that you have all of the information we've been talking about, where it comes from, its collection number, its family, the species, rhododendron, but this also says something very different. It's a red label and it says the conservation status is vulnerable, and what that means is this plant is in danger of going extinct in the wild. Well, behind me is the most magnificent medieval gateway. I mean, what a way to come into a landscape. Here, however, I'm hoping we can settle a question which has plagued the United Kingdom for quite some time. Is it Scone or is it Scone? Well, in fact, it's neither. It's Scone Palace, as you can see, and it's a remarkable landscape built through generations of passionate gardeners, creating not only the landscape park around us, but areas of highly intensive horticultural gardens. Here, we'll be meeting the head gardener who will share his passion for maintaining and restoring this remarkable garden. Hello, Brian.
Hi there, how are you?
I'm good, thank you. This is an extraordinary tree that I've just been walking past.
It's one of our most notable trees. Every time we have a storm, I look out for this one first. It's called the King James sycamore. It was actually planted in the early 1600s by King James VI of Scotland, James I of England.
Wow, it's very, very impressive. And it has already had some damage in the past, which I imagine is...
Yeah, it has about 3 strong boughs left, but clearly it had a fourth. I mean, I think for 400 years old it's done well, but there was a storm in the early 2000s and unfortunately it lost that one. But it's still standing tall. I think the whole garden and grounds are equally as remarkable as the Scottish history that was here. There's as much horticultural history as well. You've got the designed landscapes, all the trees that are planted in the parks. That was by the Scottish landscape gardener J.C. Loudon. It also includes a wall garden that used to sit on the lawn beside the palace, Victorian pinetum, Murray star maze. It is a remarkable garden that we've got here.
Where should we go first? It seems like quite a lot to see.
The bluebells near the Douglas Progeny. I think that would be a nice place.
Okay, I'll follow you. So, is this the fir that you said we should come and have a look at?
Yep, this is what we call the Douglas fir.
I mean, he's quite big.
It's a beautiful tree. So I don't know if you've heard of the plant hunter David Douglas.
Yes.
So he's one of Scotland's great plant hunters. He was born here in Scone, 1799. Did his apprenticeship in the Wall Garden before heading off to Valleyfield and Glasgow Botanics, where he was recognised as having the qualities to be one of those plant hunters. And then he did 3 planting trips to the northwest coast of America. This tree here was grown from seed that he sent back, which is why we give it the Douglas fir.
And when did he send that back, roughly?
So the seed was collected around about 1825 and it was sent back to the garden team. The Mansfield family would have helped sponsor that plant hunting trip. And then it was grown on and then planted out here in this spot around about 1834.
Wow. I mean, when we say it, it sounds so easy, doesn't it? He went off on a plant hunting trip, he came back with something. We're talking about 1820 into a territory that wasn't quite a country, still very, very dangerous, crossing the sea in a rickety wooden ship, really, and like no real provisions, no vaccines. I mean, the fortitude that we kind of casually talk about is really quite impressive, that you would go on such a kind of a life-threatening adventure, really.
I know, as you say, it's just absolutely remarkable. And again, when you read his journals, I thought it was quite glamorous being sent to these countries. He was studying the soil, studying the climate, and he picked out this. Sitka spruce is another one of David Douglas's introduction. I they're pretty much the billion-pound forestry industry that the UK has today. So that, as you say, that vision 200 years ago, it's amazing.
Just incredible. Well, shall we carry on this way and see what else is round the corner, because there's so much.
So it's not just the fascinating garden and plants that we have. We've got a few old bits of the old abbey.
Oh wow, I mean, had you not told me they were like ancient carved stones, I would have been thinking, how can I squirrel these off to my garden? So these stones are from an abbey that predates the palace?
Yes, so the palace that we see today was down to the third Earl's vision. He re-landscaped the gardens and grounds. The terrace slopes that round about the palace, I used to take them for granted, but the palace used to sit on the brow of a hill. When they were creating those slopes and those terraces, they started to come across some of the old abbey that had been buried under the ground.
So how old is this stone?
Oh gosh, must be about 1000 AD. This here is actually an inscription. It's Alexander III, who was one of the abbots of the old abbey.
Wow. And he has an interesting story.
Yes, well, in 1296, King Edward came up and he borrowed the king-making seat that we used to have here at Scone. You know, the one that stayed down at Westminster
Yes.
Abbey. However, he did actually send his army back a further 2 times because he reckoned the monks had hidden it. And that would be that monk, that abbot there, who'd been the one that allegedly has hidden the stone. So the real Stone of Destiny could be somewhere around
Could
this.
still be here. Wow, that's quite impressive. Well, this really does look like a very new space to me.
It is, the garden's new, but the actual wall garden, the kitchen garden that we're in, is actually over 220 years old, and the family are bringing it back to life now.
And by bringing it back to life, I mean, the walls are magnificent, but are they creating something completely new, or are they referencing some of the things that used to happen here?
We're having a wee link to the past. You know, unfortunately, we're never going to have the 26 gardeners that used to look after this area. But you know, this plot, this is the size of what one plot used to be. Where there used to be 8 in this one half of the wall garden, there's now only 5, just to make it a bit more manageable.
Wow. And what other elements are you bringing in from the past?
Well, there's a wonderful article from the Gardener's Chronicle magazine in 1866, and it has a wee description of here. And it used to say in the wall garden the paths were lined with pyramid-trained fruit trees. So one of the orchards we've created over there is an apple orchard with modern day varieties, and I've managed to train them as pyramids, just as a wee testament to the past.
Oh wow, it's very exciting. Creating something quite bold and new. I mean, one of the things I love are the way that you've been working with these tilia to make these kind of stilted hedges, but I noticed the branches are all interwoven, and I've never seen that before, and it really is an idea that I might just borrow from here.
Well, I'm not going to lie, I borrowed it from somebody else, so we're just passing on. But I love it. I think it's a really underused hedge, especially in Scotland and the UK. As you say, it's a hedge on stilts. For me, you get this winter effect when you prune them back to the frames. And then, as you can see on the half that I didn't manage to get pruned this year, during the summer months, that new growth will just make this feel like it's an enclosed private garden. Especially in here, if you want to get married, this is what this is all for as well.
Well, I mean, I'm still available for that.
So this is the last thing that I wanted to show you, Paul.
Well, it's definitely an impressive maze, but does it represent anything?
Yep, it actually resembles the family emblem. It's known as the Murray Star Maze. It's made up of 1,000 green and 1,000 purple beech. And also the colours also represent the family Tullibard and Tartan. So it's a unique design, and it's a really impressive one as well.
It is very impressive. Do you know who designed it?
It's the world-renowned designer, Adrian Fisher.
Wow. Well, it looks like you could very easily come unstuck wandering through there. I think it's a very good maze, definitely. I might go and try it, but before I do, just to say thank you so much for your time this afternoon. What a wonderful garden. Really rich in history, but also really ambitious in where it's going in the future. So thank you for taking time to share that with us.
Thank you very much.
As we wrap up this incredible season of Gardens of the World, I can't help but reflect on the journey we've taken through the enchanting landscapes of the British Isles. From the lush hills of Ireland to the rugged coastline of Scotland, each garden we explored tells a unique story deeply intertwined with the culture and history of the region. We began our adventure in the heart of County Wicklow, where the grandeur of Powis Court simply took my breath away. Strolling through its majestic Italian and Japanese gardens, I was reminded of the timeless beauty that nature can offer. The serene setting of Glenlow and its ancient monastic history were equally captivating, revealing how gardens can nurture our spirit and connect us both to the past and the future. In Wales, Botanic Gardens showcase the perfect harmony between nature and design, with Snowdonia National Park as its backdrop. It is perhaps one of the most important gardens of the United Kingdom, and one which every time you visit has something truly amazing about it. It's a testament to how gardens can embody the spirit of not only the person who creates them, but the people who have gone before them, collecting plants and creating a space which truly inspires us today. Liverpool's gardens showcase to me the vital role green spaces play in urban life, not only now, in the future as we face an uncertain climate, but also in the past. It's increasingly one of the elements of our life that we will have to depend on. However, the stunning Palmer House in Sefton Park and the educational endeavours at Nest Botanic Gardens are shining examples of how gardens and landscapes have enriched the lives of communities and enhanced our connection to nature. Northern Ireland took us from the geological wonders of Giant's Causeway to the formal elegance of Mount Stuart. Here, I was struck by the contrast of raw natural beauty and the meticulous artistry, creative imagination, and wonders of garden design from a very personal perspective. Our travels through the Outer Hebrides and Orkney Islands were nothing short of breathtaking. The resilient gardening practices at Lewes Castle and the ancient history at Skara Brae reminded me of the deep bond between people, their environment, and the stories that we have as we leave behind, and also the stories that we pass on to each generation, and the things that are important to us about the way we live with the natural world. Finally, and perhaps most personally, we concluded our journey in Edinburgh, where the Royal Botanic Garden stands as a beacon of horticultural heritage and botanical research into the future. The diversity of the plant collections housed there are not only a treasure trove for garden enthusiasts, but a vital source of conservation and potential cures for diseases going forward throughout the world. And for me, being back there after so many years of life really was one of the most incredible experiences of the whole series. As I reflect on these extraordinary gardens and the moments shared, I am inspired to encourage you to explore the British Isles for yourself. Whether you're wandering through a serene garden, delving into its rich history, or simply soaking in the breathtaking views, these experiences will stay with you long after you visit. With Viking, you can embark on your journey through these stunning landscapes, discovering the beauty and serenity of the gardens that have inspired so many before you. Let the magic of the British Isles draw you in, and who knows what stories you might uncover along the way. Thank you for joining me on this incredible adventure. I hope you've enjoyed it as much as I enjoyed being there with our expert guides and the people that made all of those spaces possible. I hope to see you soon in gardens.